Today, we're going to talk about divine timing because right now I am in the middle of a decision that looks like expansion, but actually is distraction. And I'm willing to bet that you're also navigating a decision or something that you need to think about around timing. And is the timing actually right? It might be the right thing, but is it the right time? So, recently, I went on a MDMA and psilocybin journey, the last episode of the show. And if you haven't listened to that, definitely go take a listen. I got a lot of positive feedback, and y'all were very interested to hear more about what is happening with Voice and Visibility, my podcast and media company, as well as just the inner workings of the mind of a creative and a founder and somebody who's building something. And so we're going to pull back the curtain today. I'm going to share with you a story that's happening in real time because there's some wisdom and some nuggets of gold in here. And I want to share those with you. So, after I went on this journey that showed me my life's purpose in amplifying voices and growing voice and visibility, there was this feeling of like voice and visibility needs a headquarters. It needs a physical location. I've recorded at many studios over the past few years, and I've always known that I would have a podcast studio. And it's always been just this feeling of it's going to feel like home once I can open the door to a physical location in a studio and record and have my own cozy chairs and like plants and make it all vibey. And, in my mind, I've thought that this opportunity was probably a few years away. It didn't feel like it was right now, but I did say it out loud about a week ago. I said to Kurt, I said, hey, I do think we're gonna have locations here in Boulder and in, like, Nashville area and maybe in Austin or LA or whatever. He's like, "Yeah, I think yeah, okay." And so we just started talking about it a little bit, and, I think this was, like, a Saturday night, and just hanging out. I was, like, on my computer doing work or doing something, I forget, and he sends me an email, and he's like, "Hey, go check your email." And I look at my email and I see a Facebook marketplace listing and I click it and it's for a podcast studio that's local, like 9 minutes from my house. It's in a prime location. It has an insane price tag. It was only a 1 year lease. It had everything. It was like a blank canvas. It was convenient. It was afford like everything, like my list, it checked it all off. And so I saw it, went to go see it last week, and I got really excited. And I started telling our clients about, hey, I'm looking forward to this, and this is potentially coming, and blah, blah, blah. And so I hadn't applied for it yet, only because I like needed to do the like logistical business things of like looking at our numbers and making sure it makes sense and thinking also about the repercussions of what it's going to be like to add a physical location to the business, which is very exciting. Oh my God, it feels so expansive. And so I'm thinking about all these things and I get a message from the agent or whoever was showing me the studio, and she was like, "Hey, just an FYI, somebody else looked at the studio, so if you are interested, make sure you apply." I was like, "Oh, okay. All right." So I felt like this urgency to get back to my place and apply for the place. And in the back of my mind, I felt like, okay, I haven't really given this as much thought as I've wanted to give it. I've just had a lot going on. And it's been a really exciting thing, but, like, the current clients that we are supporting, like, my role in their businesses and brands and podcasts and all of the things, it's just growing, and so a lot of my time has been spent helping other people's, careers move forward, and I've kind of haven't had as much space or created as much space for my own, like, decision making, right? And so I kind of felt a little weird about that, but I was like, "It's okay, I'll figure that out." So, I come home, I was out for a walk, come home, I put in the application, and I was like, "Okay." And I was kind of freaking out, to be honest, because I think I was recognizing the bigness of this decision. Like, I was thinking about, like, when you're in college and you just kind of make reckless decisions, not really thinking about the repercussions. I feel like I'm finally at the place in my life where I've just had way more discernment and recognition of what's gonna happen if I do X. Like, if I do this, these outcomes could happen, right? And so, though I can be very delusional, I am way more strategic and discerning because that's just what has to happen now. Um, and it's like all my life lessons have really led me to learn this. And so submit the application. I, you know, I'm like, okay, I did it. I did it. But like, I still just felt like weird about it. And I was like trying to get myself excited about it. And so that was, I was like last week. It was like 5 days ago, like 4 days ago. So you're getting this in real time. And as I was thinking about the studio and I got an email once the application went through, okay, you'll hear back from us in a few days. I was definitely feeling nervous and definitely like fear was coming up. Um, Also just like, whoa, this is a huge project. Like I'm gonna have to furnish this space, I have to soundproof it. There's a whole it's like a second business pretty much. Like it's a huge arm of the business. And I hadn't really given myself that much space to actually feel what I was feeling. And so on Saturday night, like a few days ago, I was sitting down to eat dinner with Kurt and we were just like talking about it. And I was like, hey, I'm kind of starting to feel like I'm not really sure about the studio. And previously that day, I got an email and it was like, hey, your application has been approved. These are the next steps. Here's the lease. And so I had printed out the lease and I put it into ChatGPT and I was like, hey, be a lawyer and let me know what I need to be. Like, are there any red flags in this lease? And just like anything I should be aware of. And it spit out like a few things, but nothing crazy. But as I was reading through the lease and I was reading through what AI had to say, I was really sitting with it. And I was starting to feel a little uneasy about it. And for those of you who are into human design, my decision making thing is I'm an emotional authority. That's my authority. And so typically, when you have an emotional authority, there is an emotional wave that you go through. If you are a sacral authority, it's usually an immediate, like, yes or immediate no. It's pretty quick. But for those of us who are emotional authorities, there is a wave. There is definitely an emotional wave. There can be a high and then a low, and then it's kind of an evening out. And so I recognized I was on that emotional wave. I was going through the journey of like actually feeling like, okay, is this really the right move? And so I hadn't made any decisions yet. And I said to Kurt, I'm like, okay, can you role play with me? Can we role play this? And can you pretend let's pretend I got the space, we signed the lease, we're moving into the studio, like pretend like we're about to move in and like just play the game with me. He's like, okay. So he's like, hey, okay, like, are you ready to move in? And he's like, ready to like paint the walls and do the things and blah, blah, blah. And I literally, in my body, I felt this feeling of heaviness. And it was like, oh gosh. And I couldn't, like, I was taking like big sighs. I was like, what is going on? And so I look at him and I'm like, Kurt, I don't think this is the right decision. And I feel really sad about it. And he was like, well, it might not be. Like, it might not be the right time. And so we started talking about it. We started fleshing it out. We probably talked about it for like an hour. And the conclusion that I came to was that, you know, I'm really excited about having a studio. And I know that having a studio is going to be totally next level. It's going to be so fun. It's going to be fun to have clients fly in and record seasons of their show or do shoots or just have a creative space, a creative home. And it totally does give the business like a feeling of having like a headquarters, you know? And And so there's that. There's, like, all the benefits of, like, the cool aesthetics, we get to make it all vibey and all of that. But the other part of where the business is at right now is that we are hiring our first person. And I talked about this a little bit last week where, I put out this call for a ride or die assistant and it ended up going viral. And I was like, whoa, I need an assistant to help me find an assistant. And I had to set up all the automations to respond to comments. It was a whole thing. And we had an incredible pool of humans apply. And so I had to go through 135 applications. It was fucking bananas and watch every single person's video. Like I went through every single application. I thought I was gonna like try to use AI to help me, and I just was like, no, I can't. I need to go through all these applications. I went through all of them. I probably spent 25 hours going through application. But I recognized that like I wanted to do this hiring process right. And so I've spent a lot of time and energy basically telling clients that want to work with us, hey, you need to give us a minute because we're in the midst of hiring and restructuring the company. And so I've delayed money, I've delayed clients, I've delayed all the stuff in order to get the right fit. And I was realizing that in the midst of making this decision around the studio, there's like so many things that need my attention. Current clients, obviously, are the main priority. And hiring is the second biggest priority because that's what I've been putting all of my time and energy and attention into. And that is what the business really needs. And I started to recognize that there was all these competing things that need my attention. And if I was going to bring in a studio to the mix, that would be, it could be a really big distraction because we're hiring somebody and we're doing interviews and I'm interviewing and Kurt's interviewing and we're interviewing together. And it's like, there's so many moving pieces when bringing on a real legit team member. This is not just a cute assistant. I know that we initially were hiring for an assistant, but it very quickly became, no, you're going to be a founding member of the team and you're likely going to grow into a full-time role. We're building a company. I'm not just building something with some random people popping in and out. Like, no, this is a real company and I want to do this the right way. And so what I was starting to recognize through the conversation with Kurt and just my processing was like, whoa, if we move forward with this studio, the studio is going to need my attention because it's a physical space. And what about our new hire? What about all the clients who are knocking on our door who are excited to work with us? But I've had to tell them, hold on, hold please. And it started to make me realize that if I was to move forward with the studio, it like optically, it would look so fucking cool. Like, come on. Like, if I popped on here and said to you, hey, we have a physical location, we have a studio, like that would be fucking awesome. But it actually in my body felt like it felt so sad. It felt like grief. It felt like a little bit of disappointment too, but just a lot of grief, yeah, around like this actually is a distraction. This is not what the business needs this moment. Now, because I know that we will have a studio and studios, it has been challenging for me to discern between what is a right now and what is a for later. That I think is a thing that we have to navigate of recognizing when we can see the vision. We don't always know how far something out is in the future. And is it now? Is it then? And I have made a lot of decisions as an entrepreneur over the last decade that were made from the future because I thought that, oh, well, if I want to make my future be now, then I need to make decisions from the future. But that actually fucked me over. Fucked me over financially. It fucked me over capacity wise. I overhired or I hired people who are way too like experienced and I couldn't afford to pay them. Like, and then I had to be like, fuck, what am I doing? It just became a whole mess. And so what I've started to kind of come to terms with is like, yes, having a vision and seeing the future is great, but you have to take action actually from the present moment or else you end up fucking yourself over. And it's kind of challenged my entire belief system about, be your future self now and act as if. And there's a time and a place for that, but I think that the manifestation world and the way that creating your reality is taught is a little distorted. And when I think about all the most seamless, ease-filled, fun, expansive, and sustainable transitions or decisions in my life, they have actually come from the present moment. And, I am not a meditation guru, but what I know to be true is that if we stretch too past our edge, our comfort zone, it can backfire. And just because you can make something work, just because you can manifest, it doesn't mean that that thing is right for you right now. Just because we have this innate power to create our reality, if we don't have discernment around that, what will happen is you will create a lot of noise and you will not create alignment. And I've been thinking about this decision of the studio, not just for me and not just for the business, but also for our current clients. Is that going to pull me away from serving the current clients that we do have? And the answer is a resounding yes. It's going to create a very big imbalance in priority. And once I started to realize that, I was like, this is not the decision that I need to make. And that's one of those, like, disappointing realizations that I think we have in life when we recognize that the thing that feels like fun and, "Oh my god, so exciting," if we don't really think about it and have discernment around it and have patience around it, we can make a decision that could derail us. Now, theoretically, if I was to move forward with the studio, I would make something of it. It would be great. It's not like it would be a failure. It's just, it would probably slow the business down a lot, actually. Even though it seems like it would make it great, if you think about it, like imagine right now you just acquired a storefront. Think about all the work that goes into having a brick and mortar. Maintenance, getting it looking nice, keeping it looking nice. For me, it would be like the production, handling the cameras, the audio. There's so many moving pieces. Scheduling, coordinating, like holy crap, that's a full-time job right there. And that would take me away from the actual work that I'm here to do with my show and with our clients' shows. And I just recognized like it's not the right time. It's really not the right time. And so I started playing around with this concept of time and our timelines, like our highest timeline and this concept of FOMO because the thing is the deal was so sweet. Like the studio, it was perfect. There is nothing that could be better, honestly. It was so perfect. And I realized that if I was to make the decision out of like FOMO or out of pressure, I would have been feeling like I had to force it to make it make sense and not like it just fell into my lap and like, yeah, it sounds great. It does. But it didn't feel great. It felt like a lot of work. It felt like a lot of unnecessary pressure on me and on the business. And sometimes the best decision is not the one that looks the best, like optically. It's the one that actually is true to you. And yeah, am I disappointed? For sure, because it feels so fun. And I know that that fun and that dopamine would wear off after a little bit. And then I would be faced with the work and the responsibility of that space, which I do not have bandwidth for right now. Not until we bring on our first hire and potentially second hire. I need to get the current thing that's happening running more optimally, more efficiently. I need to do the right thing, you know? And it made me start to realize that, like, when we recognize our innate power to manifest, to create reality, to say we want something and literally multiple hours later have that thing be handed to us. Like, genuinely, I said to Kurt, I think we should have a studio space in Boulder. I didn't give a timeline, but I just said that. 4 to 6 hours later, that place was in my inbox and I was booking a tour. That's how fast it manifested. Just because it can manifest that fast doesn't mean it's the best timeline for our human. And that's the thing. Divine timing is about divine timing because our souls don't know time. Time is a human thing. And the way the universe works is like it's not there's no time. So it just is delivered. But for our humans, we need to pace ourselves. And I have a very long road ahead of me with this company. And I am very much in the infancy stage of this company. And if I take on unnecessary risk and unnecessary excitement, though I love that, it will burn me out inevitably. And so just because your soul is excited, because it is, you can probably hear it in my energy, in my voice, my human cannot move as fast as my soul. And your human cannot move as fast as your soul. Burnout truly happens when we try to execute at the speed of our vision. And so this game is about pacing yourself. And I've talked about this a little bit very briefly when I was training for the ultra marathon that I ran in in like Tucson or like Phoenix, Arizona back in 2024. Oh, sorry, it was in the Tetons. My bad. I was thinking about a different race I did, but um when I was training for that ultra, the training plan was not about running at your fastest pace because you would burn yourself out. It was about pacing yourself so that you could run the 30 miles in the race. And I've run races where I've burned myself out in the first 6 to 8 miles, and then the rest of the miles were so brutally fucking painful because I did not pace myself. I've had to unfortunately learn this the hard way, and I feel like this decision to not pursue the podcast studio is the first decision that I'm making out of truly a place of self-love and of pacing to honor what the business actually needs and what I can handle, like, genuinely. I am somebody personally who will be like, "A challenge? Okay, accepted. I've got it. I'll figure it out." My weak point is knowing when to say, "Just because I can do this doesn't mean that I should." This is the power of discernment, and this is a really important skill to have with people, with opportunities, with experiences, but especially in business, because there's gonna be so many opportunities that come your way that you have to make a decision on, and there's gonna be a lot of distractions or things that might just be a not now, you know? The truth is, when you are operating in a growth mindset or in a mindset of there's more than where that came from, that means that you can say not now without fear. Like it's something else is going to come back around, you know? What's meant for you will totally come back, but often even better and even more aligned. And it's funny, I was talking with my friend Kate. She's a psychic. I met her here in Boulder. She's awesome. And she channels these nuns. It's hilarious. I'm just gonna have her on the show because yeah, she's just great. And we were just talking about like pacing ourselves and what's meant for you will come back often even better and more aligned. And she goes, I feel like you need an even more bougie studio. And I was like, that's what Kurt said. And because this space is like, it's really cool, but it's definitely like, it's in an artist's loft and it's definitely like a little grungy, like a little, you know, but I went to architecture school, which is like basically art school. And so I get it. But I've also come a long way and I appreciate luxury and wealth and just, yeah, that's just my vibe. So there's this level of like, yeah, maybe she's right, you know, and Kurt said the same thing. I'm like, yeah, I just really like nice things. And so it's like, I know I will have a studio. I know that for certain. I know it in my bones. And is it actually the right time right now? No. And I have goosebumps as I say that because it's just not. And this story is a reminder to you that there is such a thing as divine timing. I think about this even in the context of meeting Kurt. We met at probably the only time that we could have met. I know I say that because it's like hindsight, but genuinely, if I had met him any earlier, certain things in my life would have complicated it. If I had met him any later, again, things in my life would have complicated it. I wouldn't have had the time to dedicate to getting to know him. And timing is real, it really is. And I'm hopeful that I look back on this episode and the story right now with you to be like, remember when I almost signed the lease for that studio? And look at the studio we have now. And it does require a little bit of a ego dissolution in that, yeah, it would have been so cool to be like, yo, I have a studio. It's so cool. La, la, la. But that's not a big enough reason. And I just, I really encourage you to think about the things in your life that you might be trying to force just a little. It's so subtle, probably, that just are not the right time. It's just not the right time. And can you just allow the timeline to naturally unfold? Because when you do, it will be even more magical than you could have ever planned. And I want to leave you with this. Let me know whether you're listening on Apple or Spotify or YouTube or wherever you're tuning in from. Did you need to hear this message? I genuinely feel like and know that so many of you needed this reminder for something in your life. I'm feeling like there's a lot of stuff around relationships and even where you are in your career, your business. Like there's something about trusting in the timing of your life. And I want to know if you made it all the way to the end. And let me know if there's something that this really speaks to. Pop it in the comments. Let me know what this is referring to for you. I'm so curious. I know that this is a concept that can be really challenging for our human minds to understand, especially when we like want things now. But just know that if you are impatient, the things that you end up kind of forcing to happen now can end up creating unnecessary complication in your life, and it might not be worth that. So, I'm going to leave you with this. If this resonated for reals, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you are trusting in divine timing around, and send it to a friend who might just need this reminder. Maybe they need this reminder about a relationship in their life, or a friendship, or a work thing, or a business thing, or just, yeah, there's something where you or your friend is forcing a little too much, and it just doesn't have to be that hard. All right. I love you. I want to encourage you to continue tuning in every week. And I'm going to continue to keep sharing the journey, the behind the scenes of what the heck is happening with all of the things that are happening in my life, the magical scenarios and the growth of the business and the ups and downs, and kind of peeling back the curtain of voice and visibility and letting you see it come to fruition in real life, because I just don't think that many founders or creatives or visionaries or entrepreneurs, whatever, share the journey in real time all the time. And I'm kind of putting myself out there doing it this way, kind of having my ass on the line, so to speak. But I really want to take you with me on the journey. And I want to peel back the curtain as much as I can, and I want to share the stories and the lessons I've learned, and hopefully help you not mess up as much as I have, or help you make better decisions, or trust yourself more, or just simply own it, the name of my show. And yeah, I'm, like I said a few episodes back, when I renamed the show Own It, I did say that I was going to do a lot more solo episodes, and we are going to be doing that. I'm going to have some guests on here and there, but yeah, I really just feel called to do some raw dog solo episodes and start sharing behind the scenes and the lessons and the, yeah, insights that hopefully can help you on your journey. So, yeah, the best way you can really support the show is by sharing it with your friends and leaving us a review. And the only way to really leave us a review is on Apple, because Spotify doesn't really let you do that. So if you haven't reviewed the show on Apple, this is my ask. Thank you for being here. I love you. And I will catch you next week, and stay tuned for updates on what happens because I didn't say yes to the studio and how our hiring process is going. I'll fill you in next week. Don't you worry. It's gonna be fun. I love you, and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye.